Welcome to those who want to be activated gently, who find a reason in every injustice that brings us together, who need an affirmation of hope, and who will fight the good fight with the bouncing shoulders, tripping brains, and open hearts of a narrative changer for those who want to do things with stories. The fact is, we face difficulty, clearly fighting against poverty, dirty politics, violence and harm, leading to paralysis. Anchored by a large concept still in contested categories. We embody the stillness of fear, while grasping for safety. Name it, no heavy words, but tangible objects. Magical keys, locks or streets to make sense of. Let's put our paranoia in an uncontested object. Paranoid objects, often irrational, not easily worded. Trauma and grief is not simple but well assorted in our track. We jump to skip them like athletes. Sometimes we make it, sometimes we're not. But still, suspicious as its benefits, paranoia comes as a second nature. From previous experiences, battle memories, almost completely organic, not straight woman, queer, brown, targeted. Safety is a short and lacking promise. They are asking me not to be paranoid. What's the threat? Why the shake of mistrust? And it must come from within you. Something fixable. Therapy seems feasible. Since it comes from you, from within you, right? It belongs only to you, right? For those who have expressed suspicious of the status quo, for those who have whispered secrets that undermine the dominant narrative, we have been told, stop being paranoid. There must be something wrong with me. Women, queer, poor, trans, migrant, refugees, people with disabilities, people from underrepresented communities, classified paranoid. Paranoia is a response, not an internal emotion. Look at it, it's out there in motion. We must see to make a gallery with our paranoid objects, to testify, to demystify, to make sense of a world of paranoia. So release it to your partner and let them make sense of it, as if it makes sense to you, as if brand new. When we came together, this was task number 2, to hold our paranoid objects. My paranoid object is a lock, a little latch lock that I talked to Alejandra about in this exercise. This lock was on the door in the bathroom of the house I grew up in. Ever since a little girl, my mother and the women of my family always told me that if I used the bathroom, I must lock the door. If you could see this lock, it's very fragile, but it meant safety. When I was little, I didn't know what I was supposed to be safe from. While I grew and got older and experienced life as a woman in this world, I understood why it was so important to close that lock, and why it was so important that it was in my mind all the time. In public restrooms, in my own house, in the house I grew up in. I understood that this object needed to be with me and accompany me every time I needed privacy, every time I went to a vulnerable space like the bathroom. So now it's almost impossible for me to use a bathroom without closing and locking the door. What I felt when talking to Alejandra about this, and how she opened her eyes and said, I relate. I can completely relate to that lock. And our question was, is that lock actually keeping us safe? Or what is that lock keeping us away from? Hiding us from the world? Because that's the only way women are supposed to be safe.
It's funny how things work, isn't it? I remember sitting across the screen from Elena and talking to her. We were speaking about paranoid objects, and then suddenly she reaches out and she says, hold this thing for me. And I reach out too, and then suddenly I'm grabbing this thing and I realize it's a lock that has been given to me across the screen, across cities, across countries, and now I have it in my hand. And so I'm holding this thing and I look at it and I realize that this is Elena's lock, but I cannot open it. And it looks so much like my own locks. And I start thinking, don't we all have locks? What am I supposed to do with this one lock? And for 1 second, I think about keeping it, about storing it, about keeping it really close and locking it away with my own lock. And luckily, it suddenly dawns on me. If instead of locking things away and keeping the locks closed, we share our locks and we pass them on and we just hold them together, then maybe they'll unlock. What will they hold behind? So instead of locking it away, I just passed it on and I gave it to Diana to hold.
My paranoid object was a key. In South Africa, gender-based violence is quite horrific. And for me, my key, my car key, is a way that I can feel protected when I'm in my car. I'm locked in my car and I feel that I can safely travel from place to place and I am safe because I am locked from the outside world. I feel like my car creates some kind of barrier between me and the dangers outside. And I once experienced an incident when I was at a music festival and I was sleeping in my car on the back seat. And I'd already had some kind of interaction with one of the security guards. But I felt I'm sleeping in my car. I'm safe, I'm locked inside, I'm safe. But at about 1 a.m. in the morning, I heard someone rubbing the outside of the window because it was very cold, so the window was steamed over. And the person rubbed the outside to look inside, shone a torch inside, and then proceeded to try to open the car door. I was terrified. Whoever was outside did not have good intentions, seeing me sleeping in the back seat and trying to enter my car. Thank goodness it was locked. I was safe. And I knew that no matter what, I could not leave my car until it was daylight. My car protected me that night. This exercise was quite an eye-opener to sharing our different stories linked to locks and safety and what it means being a woman in this world. I shall now pass it on to Neha.
Well, actually, I am not surprised that so many of us talked about the different kinds of locks in our life as our paranoid objects. And my paranoid object was a pepper spray, which again is kind of like a lock, like you're supposed to carry it in your purse, and nothing will happen to you, and your security is your own responsibility. But guess what? I've never heard in my entire life any woman coming up to me and saying, you know what, I have this pepper spray in my bag and therefore I used it and, it helped me get out of this situation. So eventually, I think all these locks that we've talked about are just mere symbols of, the fear that we carry in our heads about people and strangers and things that might happen to us. And this fear narrative has been instilled into our brains and our hearts and our bodies, through so many narratives that we hear every day, through people that are close to us. And I just feel so grateful that, this entire group was able to share all these fears and these paranoid objects with each other. And it made me realize that no matter where in the world we live, but we all have found these ways to pretty much like lock our freedom and our expression and our engagement with this world through these locks. And probably it's time to relook at their significance and their use, and probably find other ways to interact with the world around us, which is not based on fear. Thank you.
At first, I was looking for a physical object to be my paranoid object. I was looking for something that just with looking at it will give me this sense or feeling of paranoia. But I couldn't find any. So I was looking through my mind, through my memories, and I realized there is a specific photograph in my head, not a physical photograph, but a picture in my head of many men together as a group in my way or in my path, like in the streets or in some public place that I didn't feel 100% secure in it. I was raised and educated in a Catholic school for girls. So all my childhood and teenage years, I was just with my girl friends. So the relationship I had with men was really weird, can I say, when I was in my former years. So it was really creepy for me to walk through a group of men. In that time, they were teenagers. And in some point of my teenage years, I received a little bit of bullying from some guys, some boys, and it really triggers me. There is something inside me that when sees a group of men, which I cannot just walk through, and they are able to see me, it really triggers something inside me. Of course, it is not as strong as when I was a teenager, but it still caught my attention. And I can look for it like in my body, because it gets somehow hard when this happens. So yes, my paranoid object is that one.
So as you can see, the paranoid objects exercise for me, and I think from the girls, it brought us hope. So much hope in this holding of the stories and holding of actually the objects, but at the same time holding the same questions. It doesn't matter what part of the world you are. India, South Africa, Mexico, Peru, wherever. So I tried it once more in a workshop for feminist activists, theater tools for feminist activists here in Lima last year. And it was really amazing to see how these girls who didn't know each other from anything before, they came together and they managed to voice out their fears only in order to find commonalities with the other women around them, and how that actually made us all feel stronger, just like we did on the virtual workshops with Alejandra, Meija, and Diana, and so many other wonderful people. So this was a workshop that happened in Lima, November of 2021. It was organized by Búho Teatro Hip Hop, which is a theater company that I co-direct, and it was designed by me, Kimiko Guerra, y Alejandra Lava, which is the one that you just listened to. So this was the experience of the paranoid object bringing hands and women together. To hold dear, to hold near, holding our stories feels just like holding your hand. And hold on a minute there, let me just spare a minute long enough to soften our fearful bodies, our hardened bodies, willing to find other ways to experience the world but fear. To hold dear, to hold near, across oceans and continents, to share the daily illogical and paranoid concept of living as women in this world, waiting desperately for daylight, hiding from the outside in this world that belongs to those who try and succeed. Safety is our success, transformation our victory, fear into closeness, a lock and a key. To hold dear, to hold near. Fear is learned, but also concrete, real, embodied, engraved. To hold dear, to hold near, make the questions appear, share the secrets of screams. If fear is our common, let's make it capital, sincere. And now, make it a forest that jumps out of nowhere, a door that opens up at your will only, a public street for dancing, a bigger picture about battle memories to reach out. To hold dear, to hold near. Holding your story feels just like